car, and it's very easy to smell burnt cannabis. It smells like a skunk. It stays on your clothing, everything else. So what we're seeing a lot of is DUIs. I think we've had three already for DUIs with cannabis in their system over what is allowed, which is 5 to 10 nanograms, depending if it's in their blood or urine being tested. Um, there are charges related to driving with cannabis in your vehicle that's not in its original sealed container. And what happens a lot is we will speak with people. They'll give us, whether it be a baggie or a jar or a grinder of cannabis, and they'll say, "Well, it's legal now. It's legal. Why are you hassling me for this?" And what we have to tell people, and we had a really good analogy. You have to treat it like alcohol. Is alcohol legal? Yes. However, can you use it while driving? No. Can you have the seal contain, or can you break the seal on your bottle, can, whatever, while you're driving? No. So once we explain it to them that way, they kind of get it. But like I mentioned at our board meeting last night, the state of Illinois did a horrible job of really getting the correct information out there. All everyone heard was pot's legal, up to a certain amount, and that was really it. There was no, you know, real public information program or anything like that saying, "Hey, yes, state level, not federal, but state level, this can happen. However, these are the rules." They just did a horrible job of that. So now what we're seeing is, people are almost shell shocked when they get a ticket, when they go to jail, whatever the case may be. It's pretty mind boggling, and especially with the increase in the DUIs we're seeing that are cannabis related.
And Chief, with that said, that messaging piece, because you mentioned the state fell woefully short in that effort, how does your department then become, proactive? And I know there's been messaging like Tony Kirkman at the Pike County Mental Health Center. He's done a lot of messaging around cannabis and those sorts of things with the youth, but even just that adult awareness of just because this is legal doesn't mean it's kind of like there's unlimited parameters. You know what I mean? So how do you message that? And obviously you're talking to the people you're encountering, but how do you take that message to the community?
So what we're hopefully coming out with something probably Thursday or Friday, and really starting maybe a social media outreach,
Mm-hmm.
just because people tend to look at that a little more than they do some other things, but really trying to get the message out that, listen, we aren't condoning its use. We aren't saying that right, wrong, or indifferent. However, we are saying you need to treat it like alcohol. If you're going to use it, and think you're going to operate a vehicle without any problems, that's just not the case. And then rehashing kind of what not the nuance laws are, but the main ones. You can't just throw it in your car, in a Ziploc baggie and expect that to be okay. Really, what we're telling people, if you're going to go to Champaign, Decatur, or a local dispensary, and you're going to purchase it, keep it in the bag, throw it in your trunk, take it home, and then use it at home. Don't go to a buddy's house. Don't go to a park. We had someone just last week. They were parked on the side of the road, and they were staying at a hotel, didn't want to use in the hotel, so he thought it would be a great idea to just use it on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Not the smartest to do, and really that should be used just at home. Then that way you don't have to worry about driving in an unsafe manner, getting into an accident, which is what we had also last week. We had a 2-vehicle accident that shut down one of our roads, and one of the persons there consumed cannabis. So obviously that turned into a DUI and could have really hurt them and the other driver. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just best stay at home, use it there, and let it get out of your system, and then go about your day.
Sure, sure. And I guess to that end, Chief, when you encounter someone who is driving high, is it similar to a alcohol related traffic stop where, like, I don't know, are they taken into custody, or, like, obviously you're not going to let them drive home, and also, how do you measure, quote unquote, how high they are? That's got to be another challenge in these stops, right?
Sure. So we run everyone through the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. We're all use the same field sobriety test,
Mm-hmm.
and that's to gauge whether someone is okay to drive or not. Um, so usually that will, those tests will be, conducted on the side of the road or a parking lot, wherever it's safe to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the decision is made that they are under the influence of alcohol, cannabis, other drugs, whatever the case may be, then they are taken into custody. We usually take them to the local hospital where they have what's called DUI kits, where we read them a warning to motorist, which pretty much explains the penalties of not submitting to chemical testing. So they'll submit either urine or blood sample, and then we actually send that to a lab, and within roughly a week and a half to 2 weeks, we get results on that. Um, and then if it's over a certain level, you're presumed to be under the influence.
Okay, gotcha. So you have a way to measure this then?
Oh yes, yeah. Years ago, it was 20 years ago, if you use cannabis, it stayed in your system for 30 days. So anytime in 30 days, the way the law was written, if you get into a fender bender and you said, "Man, I smoked cannabis 2 weeks ago," technically they could take you into jail. You would submit urine or a test like that, and if it came back with cannabis in it, that was an automatic DUI.
Mm-hmm.
The state realized the one good thing they did with some of this is they did say, listen, here's the deal. We understand that the effects 5 minutes after using it are much different than 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, if you're just using it that one time. So they came up with the 5 to 10 nanogram limit, depending on if it's urine or blood, as a gauge, just like 0.08 for alcohol. If you're over a 0.08, you're presumed intoxicated. Same thing with cannabis. If you're over that level, you're presumed under the influence.
Gotcha. And I wonder, again, Monticello Police Chief Rob Ross on the phone with us this morning. I wonder, do you foresee further issues with this going forward? Whether it's, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's starting to kind of bleed into traffic stops, but do you foresee this going further in terms of the issues you'll encounter with it?
Uh, it it's hard to tell. I mean, everywhere's different. What's going on in Clinton is a little bit different than what goes on in Monticello, and definitely different than what happens in Decatur, Bloomington, Normal, Champaign, Urbana.
Uh-huh.
I think if we could get the word out, then I think it can't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be people that want to use it. And that's if you want to use it, you want to stay at home, use on a Friday night and be done with it, and then go to work Monday. That's not going to be a problem. It's trying to get the word out to people. Listen, if you're driving and using, that's going to be a DUI every time.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's just not safe.
Yeah.
Just like drinking alcohol while driving is not safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I wonder, with its legalization, how many more, like, because before it was legalized, obviously you had people using it, but now that it's
Sure.
legalized, I wonder, like, what the new usership, if you will, I don't know a good word for it, but like what the percentage of people using it that had never done it before, but because now it's accessible, it's legal, all those things, they're trying it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's my wife and I will go to the Champaign every now, grocery shop, take the kids out, whatever the case may be, and you'll go to a dispensary, and there's almost a line out the door. Now that's that's the state issued cannabis. I'm not so naive as to know that people are not going to pay however much for $38 a gram, whatever it is.
Right.
They're going to find, some are have means to get it much cheaper. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm interested in seeing if it's maybe stayed the same, increase, decrease. That's a good question for maybe mental health.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We need to get a hold of Tony and see what he thinks.
And then that's another wrinkle to the conversation as well. Is are you seeing a spike in those kind of mental health related calls, and do you think it's you could, not saying you that you would, but could you tie it back to cannabis use?
I think for certain things, yes.
Totally.
What we're also seeing is, and it's not just so much cannabis; it's kratom. Which
I
is
remember
like
you talking about that. Yeah.
A few months ago, we banned the sale of that in town. We're seeing a lot of THC-based alcoholic drinks, and you're supposed to be 21 or over to purchase those. However, if somebody buys them not knowing what they are and leave them at home, kid, teenager, whatever gets into them, that can cause some mental health issues, or at least a temporary issue where they aren't thinking right. They aren't exactly sure what's going on. They act out. There's a lot of variables in that kind of throw us for a loop. Usually, once or twice a month.
Yeah. Do you, Chief, get into do you like look at the data around like cannabis use and correlation to like mental health, or just general impacts on health? Do you get into that much, or is the world of cannabis kind of new to you?
So I'll be honest with you, never used it, never tried it. Not to say that some time later, who knows, but I was never into that.
Right.
With some of this, it's new, but it's something that we've seen. I've done this for almost 22 years, and it's changed a little bit. It was 20 years ago just the little baggy, but now we're seeing it in so many different products. It's vape pens, it's drinks, it's food, edibles, gummies. It's just interesting to see how it's kind of branched out. Again, just really interesting, but we see the same thing everyone else reads, whether it be CNN, your local news, whatever. We are seeing more and more stories come out where they're showing where chronic cannabis use or high cannabis use can actually affect people mentally. They're starting to see physiological changes. And now, again, you read one story, then you read another, you talk to one person, you talk to another, you'll get different stories. But it is interesting to see kind of where everyone is kind of shaping how this is panning out over the last really 4 or 5 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, since its legalization in 2020, I think January 1, 2020. Yeah, I think is when it went legal. But man, it's interesting. That's interesting stuff. Chief, I'll tell you what, I wish I could take that conversation further. We'll take a break and we'll come back and talk some other things going on in Monticello. Before we do, how do folks keep up with all things Monticello Police Department?
We're on the cityofmonticello.net webpage under the police department, or on Facebook under Monticello, Illinois Police Department.
Sure, very good. Chief, let's break here. Come back with some more. Monticello Police Chief Rob Bross on the phone with us. More to come on the WHOW Morning Show. WHOW.
Let's check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yonke. A mixed day for grain and soybeans. May corn down 6, 459.5. July down 5.5, 470.5. December down 4.25, 486.5. Soybeans stayed a little bit higher. May beans up 2.25, 1163.5. July up 2.5, 1179. November up 5.5, 1146.5. Bay wheat down 7.5, 587 3/4. KC down 3, 603 1/4. Livestock, we also had a mixed day. Hogs were lower. April lean hogs down 47, 90.80. April live cattle up $1.25, 235.30. And April feeders were up $1.30, 352.47. Those are the closing numbers on the RFD Radio Network.
This is
March into Baum Chevrolet Buick and march out with a new Chevrolet. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. We have over 20 Silverados to fit your daily work needs in 1500, 2500, and 3500s in gas or diesel, all sale priced. Also, check out the Colorado pickup. This size and maneuverability may be another option as well. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Baum Chevrolet Buick. Right from the start.
Here's Matt Hart, owner of the Hart Media Group in Clinton, talking about continuing to serve the community through new ownership.
Things came together and we reached an agreement to purchase. And as you mentioned, we closed August the 1st. So it's August the 1st. Miller Media Group is now Hart Media Group. Mm-hmm. And we're continuing to serve the people of Clinton and DeWitt County and Monticello and Bloomington and Decatur and everywhere, because we'll just keep connecting people as we've been doing.
The Hart Media Group looks forward to continuing to serve the community for years to come.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom, or on the phone, I should say, this morning is Monticello Police Chief Rob Bross. Chief, we're officially at the time of year where we can get out, go on walks, and you can really be as mobile as you'd like because the weather is starting to turn. And obviously for municipalities like Monticello and Clinton, that brings challenges of folks maybe entering places they should not. How about this?
Yeah, so usually what we see is there's an uptick with sometimes burglaries to vehicles. In the spring, it's nice. We start getting outside more. It's not as cold. We see the sun. So usually in the spring and in the fall, we see an uptick in burglaries. So what we definitely try to hone in on people is we get everyone's busy, but man, just make sure you lock your vehicles up. Make sure there's nothing visible. It's the old adage we've been going over for the last 10, 15, 20 years. If you're out and about at the mall, grocery store, whatever, don't leave your purse on the or your wallet in a center console or in the seat. That just invites people to try your doors or get entry to try to get to that. If you can, put it in your trunk, hide it where it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's not just for wallets or purses. That's cell phones. That's tablets. My wife and I have two daughters. Usually there's two tablets in our vehicle when we're driving somewhere. But just keep that out of sight, out of mind, and make sure that you lock your vehicles. Most newer vehicles, if you lock it or hit the lock button twice, you hear the horn. I am religious, and my wife will tell you that she gets annoyed with it. How many times my truck horn honks just so I feel warm and fuzzy about locking my vehicle.
So you're one of those you click and click and click and click and click and click and click, and you're one of those guys, huh?
Yes. Oh, 2 or 3 times if it's busy, because I want to hear it and I want to feel better as I walk away from my car.
Sure.
So.
Well, Chief, any other challenges the spring brings in Monticello, whether it be burglaries or other issues?
Well, like I said, it's just that people are out and about. So much like whenever the clocks change, the fire department tells you to change your batteries in your smoke, carbon monoxide detectors, things like that. Make sure that your residential cameras, whether that be a Nest camera, a Ring camera, Arlo, anything that you have around the house, make sure it's hooked up to your Wi-Fi or internet. Make sure the batteries are charged in it, or make sure it gets new batteries. again, we go to a lot of houses where, man, I've got, all these cameras. I spend a lot of time and money on them. And then when, God forbid something happens, we go there and say, hey, we notice you have cameras. Do they work? Oh, they haven't worked for a few weeks or a month because the internet got kicked off or the battery died and I forgot to charge it. So now's a good time that, pull the cameras in, before you go to work or something, plug them in, charge them, let them charge all day, and then put them back out when you come home.
Sure.
That way, it's peace of mind.
No doubt. Chief, always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks for making time for us this morning.
Hey, thank you. It's always a good time.
Yep, for sure. We'll catch up off the air here in just a second. Monticello Police Chief Rob Bross on the phone with us this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network News comes your way now.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHO